Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. Now, I found this really sweet 5.0 Mardu Pox list off of, what is that website? mtgdex.net. And I have to say, I really love some of the tech in this list. So first off, it wins with, like, potential Nahiri Emrakul shenanigans, but we also play Smiting Helix. Just as this sweet Lightning Helix from the grave, like, okay card to discard to your grave. And this deck actually kind of maxes out on, like, Lingering Souls, Smiting Helix, Nether Spirit, lots of stuff you want in the grave. And then just kind of, like, surrounds that with land destruction and a bunch of other stuff. The other thing that caught my eye is we're playing Big Game Hunter in the side, which is a creature we can play off of Smallpox, which is pretty awesome. So like if your opponent is playing something like Death Shadow and they have a Monastery Swift Spear, then you can Smallpox in a Big Game Hunter, they sack Swift Spear, and then you blow up the Death Shadow, which I think is pretty sweet. So let's see what this deck does. I'm really interested to see what this deck is capable of, and I'll see you in round one. Alrighty, round one, here we go. I would like to play first. We have Cleansing Wildfire. Does this deck run Sacred Foundry? I just realized. Maybe not. It does have a singleton Sacred Foundry, okay. So I can actually get Sacred Foundry and cast Wildfire and all that jazz. I'm going to try keeping this. We have no 1-mana spells, but I don't know what's good in this deck and what's not. I also don't know what I'm playing against. If it's Tron, Cleansing Wildfire will be great. So start Bloodstained Mire, pass the turn. So our opponent starts Watery Grave, untapped. This could be Mill. If it is Mill, we're playing a main deck Emrakul, which is nice. We're getting Thoughtseized. Alright, let's see what our opponent takes before we make the decision on what land to get. They take Cleansing Wildfire. Alright. Let's fetch up a Sacred Foundry, tapped. We untap, we draw Flagstones, play Urborg, pass the turn. There's nothing else we can cast right now. Hopefully we can stick a Liliana next turn. Man, Liliana and these flashback spells is just such value. So we could be against Grixis Death Shadow, we could be against some kind of like Grixis Tempo deck, or Control maybe. Okay, it's Death Shadow. So we untap and draw Seasoned Pyro. Play Lily. Uptick, and we're going to discard Smiting Helix, I think, first. Our opponent discards Sleight of Hand. Interesting. I'm not aware of any decks that play those three spells together. Generally, if it's a Death Shadow deck, they're going to be playing things like Serum Visions. So this could be an actual control deck. Alright, it's playing Serum Visions as well. It's not like it would be a 3-color Storm list. I have no idea what my opponent is playing. Oh my gosh, is it a 3-color Storm list? Okay, we can Smiting Helix to kill Baral, actually. So we can either uptick Liliana, then Inquisition, or Inquisition and then uptick Liliana. And I think upticking Liliana first might be the way to go. So we discard Lingering Souls. See what our opponent discards. Thoughtseize. Alright, Inquisition. Oh my god, it's some kind of Storm deck playing Uro. Why is it playing Uro? Oh, that makes me severely uncomfortable. I hate it. I hate my opponent's deck right now. I respect the brewing, but man, do I hate it. Okay, we're going to take Manamorphose from them, and then we're going to Smiting Helix Baral here. We can't allow a Baral. Not in a Storm deck. Yeah, the Grixis Storm deck, splashing green for Channel the Suns and Uro, of all things. Opponent's list is a spicy one for sure. So it looks like my opponent drew another Metamorphose. Okay, they had green. They play Uro. They draw a card, they get to gain some life. Okay, so opponent sacrifices Uro. They gain 3 life, they draw, they do not have another land. So we untap, we draw. Fetid Heath. I can either uptick Liliana, discarding like a land and play Liliana, and then uptick again. That might be what we have to do here. Just to try and limit how many cards my opponent has in hand. They're a ways away from, I guess, reanimating an Uro. I don't really want to lose out on Seasoned Pyromancer, but I do want to play a land here. We're also so close to ultimating Liliana. Alt Liliana might just be good. I'm going to discard Seasoned Pyromancer here. See what my opponent discards. Oh gosh. I don't know what I caught my calf on, but apparently I'm bleeding. Well, I guess we will cast a Lingering Souls second main phase here. Pass the turn. My opponent discarded a Night's Whisper. So they're holding Channel the Suns. I am unsure why. Yeah, no, with that opener from like the Thoughtseizes and the Night's Whispers, I was like positive that my opponent was playing some kind of maybe like Grixis control list, but it's actually 4-color or 5-color Storm. Watch them bring to light me. Emptied Warrens. Ah, yes. Wonderful. We untap. We draw a mountain. So Alt Lily. You can keep 2 goblins either way, but you're losing either green and red or black mana. They keep the double black mana. Alright, play a mountain. Opponent only has 1 card left in hand. Play Lily. Uptick. Opponent discards a Night's Whisper. Alright, pass the turn. I could have attacked there, because I'm probably not blocking, but... Alright. 4-color Storm. What do we do against 4-color? Do we play Boil? Like, my opponent's like mono islands. Because their mana base is so greedy. I don't want the Nile Spellbombs, and maybe the Boils. Lingering Souls is going to be good. Smiting Helix here is less good, but I don't want to cut too many. I like that I have main deck Cling to Dust. We're going to need Fatal Push potentially to deal with Baral. It's not really time for shenanigans. It's not really... not time for shenanigans. It's not time for Big Game Hunter. Man, what do I cut here? Like, Cleansing Wildfire could be insane if my opponent doesn't have, like, any basics. Well, they have a couple. We saw a basic for us, so I'm actually going to cut 2 Cleansing Wildfire, and I guess we'll play it like this. Let's see what happens. Of course, Cleansing Wildfire we can use on ourself as a cantripping Rampant Growth, which is probably what I should be doing with it, rather than trying to use it offensively. And we get an opener of 7 lands, so we're going to mulligan. Fatal Push, Cling to Dust. I'm going to keep, and I'm thinking I put back Savai Triome here. No, well, I'm going to put back Sacred Foundry. I think I'm okay starting tap land. Watch my opponent's deck be a deck that, like, all it's trying to do is, like, ritual out an Uro. That would be something. It'd be something really weird, but it would be something. Okay, so my opponent starts Watery Grave Shock. Alright, we pass. If they play Baral next turn, we pretty much have to Fatal Push. If my opponent just casts a Night's Whisper, I might Cleansing Wildfire myself. After playing, like, Flagstones. They get a Forest. Black-green Night's Whisper. Okay. We draw an Urborg. So, play Flagstones. Cleansing Wildfire myself. Get a Mountain. Flagstones gets a Godless Shrine. Pass the turn. And next turn we have, like, Thoughtseize, double Fatal Push, Cling to Dust. We get Thoughtseized. Opponent takes our Thoughtseize with their Thoughtseize. Plays a Scalding Tarn. Cracks Scalding Tarn. They get a Steam Vents. Untapped and go down to 9. Manamorphose. You got it. Into black-blue. Into a Night's Whisper. They really go low on life total, don't they? I'm going to Cling to Dust Manamorphose just because the odds that my opponent has like some kind of flashback mechanism is probably high. Unfortunately, we don't draw anything of real value. Play an Urborg. Pass the turn, leave up double Fatal Push. I feel as though I could perish at any moment during this game. Mainly because I have no idea what my opponent could be playing. Channel the Suns. Why would they be playing... So I understand that it kind of does a Seething Song impression. Like, if you have Brawl, it's effectively a Seething Song. Man, it's very strange. Channel the Suns. My opponent has 5 mana. We're getting Thoughtseized. Opponent is going to 5. Man, like, even some Lightning Bolts would close this out. If I top decked a Smiting Helix, that might just be game. Omnath, but, you know... Why wouldn't you in a Storm deck? Why wouldn't you play Omnath in a Storm deck? Chat, everybody who's watching this, why wouldn't you play Omnath in a Storm deck? Come on. We untap. We draw a Nile Spellbomb, which, an act of sweet mercy our deck has given us. So we're going to exile our opponent's grave and Fatal Push Omnath. I will pay black. We get Nahiri. We Fatal Push the Omnath. And then we'll play a Fetid Heath, and we'll pass. Crisis averted. Alright, Manamorphose. Into white-green. Oh, is this second Omnath? Oh no, it's second Omnath. I mean, that explains the Channel the Suns. Channel the Suns on 4 into Omnath Thoughtseize seems pretty good. Question marks everywhere. I guess I don't really have a choice but to play Nahiri, though she does die. Play Flagstones. Play Nahiri. Oh, if we could draw a Smallpox here, that would probably just be game. Uptick Nahiri. Yes, we will discard Urborg. We get a Cling to Dust. Cling to Dust. Try and draw something. Cleansing Wildfire. Alright. Pass the turn. So my opponent missed a land drop, but they may be holding out on a fetch land for Omnath here. Omnath also kind of explains the life loss, because between Omnath and Uro, they kind of recoup a lot of that life loss. Like, is this just like Grixis mid-range with Uro Omnath splashed in? Are they splashing 3 extra colors in a Grixis mid-range deck for Channel the Suns, Omnath, and Uro? Because I still hate it. I respect my opponent's deck choice, but I don't like it. And I really hope that I beat it, otherwise I'm going to feel bad. Opponent plays the Serum Visions. I will say that this is one of the most interesting games of Magic I've played in a long time, simply because I don't know what's happening. The Serum Visions, Sleight of Hand. Savai Triome. No, because they were playing Empty the Warrens. They just Empty the Warrens X1. They're actually playing Storm cards. I guess Night's Whisper with Channel the Suns, does give you black, and if you have Baral, it's 1 mana, lose 2 life, draw 2 cards, and that's gotta be good, right? Omnath could also give you a surplus of mana for a single turn. The only thing that would top this off is if they just, like, cast Primeval Titan here. it's just like, you know, what's even happening anymore? Baral. Bring Delight, yeah. Okay, that was one of the things we considered. Empty the Warrens. Okay, that makes sense. Channel the Suns, Bring Delight is a tutor for Empty the Warrens, and that can get you a bunch of goblins. Man, though. I mean, I think I lose here because I'm not sure what we could draw. I don't think we have any board wipes. Opponent does not attack. We do not have any board wipes in the main. We draw Flagstones. So uptick Nahiri. We are going to discard Flagstones. We get a Seasoned Pyromancer. Do I Cleansing Wildfire? Probably not. That gains them life. I think I just cast Seasoned Pyromancer. I can play this mountain first. I will get 1 token from this, and then maybe we draw something cool. Smallpox. It does smallpox-related things. I'm not going to cast it, though. I'm going to pass. I might need to cling to dust to stay alive, depending on what happens. Omnath Storm! Now I've seen everything. Omnath, Bring to Light Storm. Alright, cantrip, cantrip. Manamorphose. Sure. Adding blue-black. Scalding Tarn, Knight's Whisper. They're drawing a lot of cards. They Thoughtseize our Smallpox. Sure. I mean, if somehow Nahiri lives and doesn't take a single point of damage, like if my opponent just decides to attack us, we're gonna ult Nahiri, get Emrakul, and end this farce, but that may not be what happens here. Alright, opponent goes to combat. They are thinking about what to... Well, the best thing that would happen is if they just swing everything at us, and then, like... it's just like Grape Shot for 5 to kill us. That would be something. So, they're swinging 10 at Nahiri, but they're thinking about it. They didn't just snap do it. They're attacking with Omnath at us. So we'll take 4, block a token, trade off a token. Nahiri dies. Alright, pass to our opponent's end step. Cling to dust. I guess exiling Empty the Warrens? I have no idea. Don't ask me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright. See what we draw. A land. We untap. We draw Nether Spirit, which I can play. It does not have flying. Just gonna cling to dust and see what I draw here. Exiling a bunch of stuff we don't need. We get Smiting Helix, but my opponent can gain lots of life now. Yeah, I'm just gonna concede, and we're gonna take the play in game 3, and hopefully we can do something about this. So my opponent is playing a lot of fetch lands. Maybe this is time for Suppression Field? Suppression Field and Smallpox in the same deck. I'm not sure that's a synergy. Do we need Engineered Explosive? We need Damping Sphere. My opponent is Storm. I don't like it, though. Boil is not going to be good here. Damping Sphere? I don't know how to sideboard against my opponent's deck. We're just running it like this. Alright, I'll play first. You know what? Sure. We'll keep. Start Bloodstained Mire, pass the turn. We can thin our deck so that we don't draw many more lands. We can start by fetching up a Savai Triome. Opponent starts by playing a Scalding Tarn, cracking it, getting a Watery Grave untapped, hitting us with the old Thoughtseize. I think they gotta take Smallpox here. Smallpox is just gonna be too much resource denial for them. Okay, they take Smallpox, as predicted. So we fetch up Savai Triome. Untap. We draw a second Cleansing Wildfire. Play a Mountain. Cycle a Cleansing Wildfire on our opponent's deck. They get a basic Swamp. We draw Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn. Opponent plays an island. Into a Baral. Alright, Smallpox off the top one time, please. Dang. If I Cleansing Wildfire, they can get a Forest. That's a problem. We have nothing of our own to Cleansing Wildfire right now. Play Bloodstained Mire. Fetch with Bloodstained Mire. Get a Swamp. Cleansing Wildfire. We're going to take out the Swamp. Basically just checking to see if they're holding the Forest. They can't be playing that many basics. Yeah! Got him! Oh, perfect. Pass the turn. 3 basics, dot deck. Cantripping Sinkhole. It's a pretty good card. Opponent casts a Serum Visions. So next turn we'll have a Smiting Helix. The old 4-mana Lightning Helix. Opponent plays a Misty Rainforest. Cracks Misty. They either sided out that forest or they're holding it in hand. And I'm leaning on they're probably just holding it in hand, but... Opponent gets a Steam Vents. Sleight of Hand again. They attack us for 1. We take 1, go to 17. Untap. We draw Damping Sphere. I think now is the time for Smiting Helix. Damping Sphere can come down next turn. Pass the turn. Next turn I could play both Damping Sphere and Flashback Smiting Helix if I had to. But it plays a Misty Rainforest. They crack Misty Rainforest. They get an Indatha Triome. Cast Serum Visions. I regret taking those Cleansing Wildfires out of my deck now. I should have thought about that prior to now. More cantrips. We untap. We draw Inquisition. Give me the old hand check. Night's Whisper, Manamorphose, Channel the Suns, Channel the Suns. Take Night's Whisper. Play Sacred Foundry tapped. And play Damping Sphere. Pass the turn. I ought to put a damper on it. Opponent plays a Misty, which is the card they just drew. I'm going to cast Manamorphose to cantrip. Adding green-red. Then they pass. I don't think we are just in cycle Nile Spellbomb territory yet. We untap, we draw Inquisition. Well, you know they're holding 1 unknown. I mean, like, I'm not gonna not do this, I guess. Alright, they drew a land. Play a Blood Crypt tapped. Pass the turn, and we're kind of getting to the point that cycle Nile Spellbomb is the thing we should do. Opponent casts a Sleight of Hand. That's the card they just drew. Did my opponent not play a land last turn? Are they trying to hold lands in hand for an Omnath? Okay, they play Scalding Tarn. Yeah, I think I'm to cycle Nile Spellbomb territory. Just because we have nothing happening right now. We have a lot of good top decks. So exile our opponent's grave. We draw Fetid Heath. Untap. We draw Cling to Dust, which just got way more useless. Cling to Dust, our own Smallpox, we'll just cantrip. We draw Flagstones, play Flagstones. I could Cling to Dust again. I'm gonna. Have to not exile the card that we were going to Cling to Dust. Okay, we get a Nahiri. Nahiri is promising. Opponent cracks Scalding Tarn, gets a Savai Triome on our end step. They crack Misty as well, so they've got something they want to play or they don't want to draw lands. Opponent plays Baral. Plays Polluted Delta. Passes. We untap. We draw another Nahiri. Smiting Helix Baral. Play Fetid Heath. Play Nahiri. Loot away Nahiri. Pass the turn. On my opponent's end step, we can Cling to Dust like a land out of their grave, maybe. That's Omnath. You got an Omnath. It draws you a card. My opponent could get 2 landfall triggers right now. They crack Polluted Delta. They get a Breeding Pool tapped. They add 5, or they get 4 life. They play a land. They get mana. They play Thing in the Ice. Alright. Those are cards. cling to dust one of our opponent's lands, I suppose. We get another Nahiri. Untap. We draw flagstones. Uptick Nahiri. Loot away flagstones. Why am I only drawing lands? I'm just gonna pass. Because if my opponent like does something crazy and flips Thing in the Ice in their Storm deck. What is my opponent playing? Why? Who pushed this person this far? They play Misty. They gain some life. They go to combat. They attack Nahiri with Omnath, because if they don't, she ults and they lose. We know they're holding 2 Channel the Suns. That's just taking up screen real estate right now. Nahiri down to 2. Mother of God. Exile Omnath. Play Nahiri. Keep the new one. Loot. Woo! Alright, that should do it. Oh! The filter lands only produce colorless because of Damping Sphere. So we have to shock here. Because that land technically produces 2 or more mana. So, non-bow detected. Play Lily. Force our opponent to sack. This has been a 40-minute first match. I may not have enough time to record this. Opponent drew Manamorphose. They cast Manamorphose, adding green-red. They play Scalding Tarn. They're holding double Channel the Suns, and they pass. We untap. We draw Inquisition. So we loot with Nahiri. Ditching Inquisition for Smiting Helix. I guess we cast it. There's not a real reason to not do this, I suppose. And then we uptick Liliana. That does also make Emrakul actually lethal. Pass the turn. I would say I'm interested in playing my opponent's list, but it's Storm splashing Uro and Omnath, so I'm not. 2 mana Sleight of Hand. Alright, we untap. We draw Lingering Souls. Alt Nahiri. Get ourselves an Emrakul. Go to combat. Attack for 15, Annihilator 6. Nice! What the hell was that match 1? I'll see you guys in round 2. Alrighty, round 2, here we go. I mean, if we draw a Fetid Heath or a Urborg, this becomes a really good turn 2 Smallpox. I'm gonna keep. Okay, opponent plays Baumat Career, which is gonna get the turn 1 Fatal Push off of a Swamp. We draw Cleansing Wildfire. Fetch. Get a Swamp. Fatal Push. Pass the turn. We might just have to save Flagstones for the Cleansing Wildfire play here. Opponent plays a Swift Spear. If they don't play a second creature, we're golden. They hit us for 1. Okay, they play a Soulscar Mage. We are not golden. Shocked Godless Shrine. Smallpox. Discard Emrakul. And this does put a Smallpox and a Fatal Push back in our deck. Opponent discards a Lightning Bolt, so Smallpox lost us a life to gain us at least 4. Sack Swamp. Opponent has to sack a land, we shuffle everything back in. Pass the turn. So next turn we can play a Savai Triome tapped. Okay, they're Blitz. They play the Flame of Keld. Discarding their last card, which is another Flame of Keld. Okay. So they get to draw a bunch of cards next turn. That's not good. We get a Bloodstained Mire. Play Savai Triumph tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent gets to draw 3 cards this turn. Kind of hoping they're lands. 1's a land. Opponent Attacks us for 1. They're not going to save their burn for Flame of Keld. They're going to hit us with it now. If my opponent flashes back this Lava Dart, I want to draw Smallpox. Alright, we untap. I still want to draw Smallpox, but play Flagstones. Black, black, white, play Lily. We're down tick to make them sack Soulscar. They can sack a land if they want to Lava Dart Liliana. I can't imagine they actually do. They sack Fiery Islet to draw a card, and they sack Soulscar. Pass the turn. So Lava Dart is actually a Lightning Bolt this turn. It's a Shard Volley. They play a land. Opponent Firebolts. And we're dead. We're dead because Lava Dart is really good with Flame of Keld. Alright. I guess I have to respect it. You don't really have sideboard for this either. I mean, Engineered Explosives, maybe. It is still slow, but I'm going to drop a Nether Spirit for it. Like, we have a bunch of Smiting Helixes, right? So maybe we Lightning Helix our way to victory? I didn't mean instead of lands, though. We got a mulligan. Oh, I should have taken out the Thoughtseize, but I guess now that I have it, I'm going to 5. This is the worst hand yet. I'm going to 4. Oh, alright, well, we got a Cling to Dust and a Fatal Push. So put back Nahiri, Seasoned Pyromancer, and we're definitely not casting a Smallpox with this hand. Play Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn. Plays a Mountain into a Soulscar Mage. I kind of don't want to fetch, because what if we want to draw more lands? But I'll fetch up a Savai Triome. We untap. We draw a Lily. Push the Mage. They could always be relying on it for like a light up the stage play. Opponent gut shots our face. They did need it for the light up the stage play. They get a Mountain and a Bombat Courier. I almost said Soulscar Mage again, I'm not sure why. Well, if I can draw lands, if I draw a land this turn, and I can play Engineered Explosives on 1 and Cling to Dust their Soulscar Mage, I'll feel a lot better. We untap, draw Lingering Souls, play Engineered Explosives on turn 1, or on 1 color, I mean, excuse me, not turn 1, this is turn 3. My brain is short-circuiting from that first match. I'm playing against a reasonable deck now. Okay, opponent plays their 3rd Mountain. Never a good sign when the Burn player has more lands than the Smallpox player. Opponent plays the Flame of Keld and discards 4 cards. They discarded Fire... Why wouldn't you Lightning Bolt? Why? They wanted to leave up Bombat Courier activation? Against a guy who's mana screwed? We draw Graven Cairns. Pass the turn, I guess. Okay, they crack Bombat Courier. They draw 2 cards. They untap. They draw 3 more. I still think discarding that Lightning Bolt was a bit premature. You always could have cracked that on your upkeep, dude. I mean, yeah, I could have had another Fatal Push, but... Or I guess I could have drawn a land and activated Explosives, but... Was I really gonna do that? Was that a thing that was actually gonna happen? Cling to Dust the Bombat Courier, I guess? We do desperately need to gain a bit of life here. Untap. We draw more cards we can't play. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Flame of Keld. Man, Flame of Keld Lava Dart. That's pretty good. At least we can Engineered Explosives to kill like a Swift Spear or something. Good old 1-mana Lava Axe. It's a 1-mana Flames of the Blood hand. Lava Dart. I think you go for the flashback, right? 0-mana Bolt! We're dead to anything because my opponent could flashback Lava Dart for 3 more damage right now. We even gained 3 life. And I think on average, like, our average hand with this deck beats a lot of our opponent's hands. Sure. In the old Inquisition. Soulscar Mage Swift Spear. Take Monastery Swift Spear. Yep. Opponent untaps. They play a land. They play a Soulscar Mage. We untap. The number of, like, miracle draws we would have to get out of this is pretty high. Play Seasoned Pyromancer. Discard Lily. Discard Lingering Souls. We have to draw, like, land Smiting Helix, and our opponent has to do nothing. Like, they have to top deck a Mountain. Well, we drew Smiting Helix and the opposite of a land. So I guess that's kind of what I asked for, right? Bombat Courier. Okay. They attack for 1, they get a redraw. I mean, we're gonna chump. Or trade, I guess. Land. You have to have drawn a land. I know you only play like 16, but you needed to draw land. Okay. We draw a painless land. Smiting Helix Soulscar Mage. Yes, we're at 4. Go to combat, attack for 2. Leaving back 2 blockers because you never know. I guess if my opponent had Swift Spear, Lava Dart, Flashback Lava Dart, then we would be... I mean, we would have been dead because they would have had Lava Dart, but... Opponent plays Light Up the Stage, manually. And by manually, I mean without Spectacle. They play a land. They cannot play Flame of Keld this turn, but they can play it next turn. We untap. We draw Nahiri, and we have to choose between Smiting Helix, our opponent's face, or Nahiri this turn. I gotta go Smiting Helix. So we go... How do we do this? Black, red, white, colorless. Lingering Souls, black and colorless. Get some blockers. Flashback Smiting Helix. Go up to 7. Attack our opponent for 4. Oh, we can Nahiri next turn to get rid of the Flame of Keld. Opponent untaps. They play a land. They play Flame of Keld. They discard a mountain, and we have lethal. We can attack for 6, and we have the Smallpox lethal. Oh, and we get the max value Smallpox. Go to combat. I cannot believe we got out from that. We were at 1. Hit them to 6. Go to second main. Smallpox? Sack an elemental. Sack flagstones. And we did it. I can't believe that happened. Yeah, I don't really want this Thoughtseize in the deck. I think Nether Spirit is better. Kind of want Wear and Tear, actually, over Nether Spirit. Nihil Spellbomb doesn't really do anything. It stops Flashback Firebolt, but the odds of that ever happening is pretty low. Alright, well, I can shock myself to play an Inquisition, and then I have nothing else in this hand. We need some really good top decks, but we do have a Seasoned Pyromancer and potentially a Lily. If we top deck any land, we can play Seasoned Pyromancer. If we top deck a black land, we can play Lily. We are on the draw. We're already kind of at a mulligan to 6 because of Emrakul, so I'm going to mulligan. This is like 1% better, so I'm going to put Liliana back. We do need black mana. We at least have Wear and Tear. Opponent starts with a Forked Bolt, which is promising because it's the first time they didn't start with a creature. We're going to start Sacred Foundry tapped. The odds that we need to tear right away is very low unless my opponent plays land Flame of Keld, in which case we could still on our turn tear. There's no way they would play a Flame of Keld here. It'd be like they just give up like 5 cards to do that. Okay, we draw Cleansing Wildfire, which is actually amazing. Oh my gosh. Cleansing Wildfire ourselves. So we can get a Swamp and a Savai Triome. And we draw an untapped land. Sweet. This is amazing. We can start casting Smiting Helixes next turn. Unless my opponent has something absolutely crazy nuts. Which is possible. I want to reiterate that is possible. Opponent bolts us, gut shots us, and plays Flame of Keld, discarding a mountain. Okay, so we untap. We draw a mountain. Play a mountain. Tear Flame of Keld. Play Seasoned Pyromancer, discarding Pyromancer Bloodstained Mire because our other cards gain life and we're going to need them. Oh! We did not deserve to win that, but we did! See you guys in round 3. Alrighty, round 3, here we go. We lost the die roll. I think this is alright. We've got pretty much all the colors of mana we need. We have to take a lot of damage to start with a Thoughtseize, though. Sunbaked Canyon, so this is either red variant of Hammer Time or Death Shadow. Oh, it's Nahiri Boom. Take Gideon. Pass the turn. Well, the good news is we also kind of blow up lands. My opponent's deck also does not have like a good card advantage engine. So there's a decent chance they draw nothing for a bit. Opponent plays a Needle Verge Pathway and is leaving up double Bolt. We draw Lingering Souls, so Sacred Foundry tapped. A little out of order, I know, but Cling to Dust, Gideon. We draw a Mountain, pass the turn. So next turn I can play Flagstones into Seasoned Pyromancer. Opponent plays Darksteel Citadel. We draw another Cling Dust, play Flagstones. Seasoned Pyro, discard Nether Spirit and Lingering Souls. Get some tokens. We get another Nether Spirit. So if my opponent bolts Pyromancer, we don't get Nether Spirit back, but that's fine. Them not having double bolt means that it's going to be safe to play Lily. Opponent plays Cascading Cataracts. Opponent paid life and is getting a Karn for a Tormod's Crypt. They play Tormod's Crypt. They exile our grave. Okay. We untap, we draw another Pyromancer. Play Savai Triome. Oh, I can't play Lily here. That's a problem. Go to combat. Hit Karn for 2. Karn goes to 1. Play another Pyromancer. Discard Nether Spirit and Cling to Dust. Make some more tokens. We get a Cleansing Wildfire and an Inquisition of Kozilek. Pass the turn. Kind of want to draw like a basic Swamp next turn, I think would be like our best draw. My opponent can Lightning Bolt this Pyromancer to stop us from getting back this Nether Spirit. They could uptick Karn on their own Darksteel Citadel as well. I don't know why they would, because it would just blow up their own land, but they could. My opponent, I believe, is also a deck that uses Cleansing Wildfire offensively, so as well as defensively. So I'm pretty sure that it would be a bad idea to Cleansing Wildfire my opponent for any reason. They play a Talisman of Conviction, they boom, killing our other black source, and then they Lightning Bolt Pyromancer. We untap, we draw Nahiri. Nahiri is excellent. Go to combat. Attack Karn, attack our opponent, attack our opponent. Okay, Karn down. Play Nahiri. Uptick. We're going to pitch Inquisition here, I think. Well, I guess Cleansing Wildfire has slightly less utility, so pitch Cleansing Wildfire. Pass the turn. My opponent has used both of their Lightning Bolts. Man, we've been playing some good decks, like, modern-wise. We played Flame of Keld aggro. Well, never mind. We played against a terrible deck game one. Like, just disgusting. The fact I played Uro and Omnath and just, I'm sure the deck is great, and I'm sure it appeals to some people, but Uro and Omnath splashing into Storm is like just gag. So Nahiri Boom. What do we side versus Nahiri Boom? I guess I don't have Pithing Needle. I may want Wear and Tear. I could potentially want Shenanigans here. Suppression Field shuts like all of our fetches off, as well as all of our planes. Why is this deck playing Suppression Field? Alright, I'll keep this. This could potentially be very good. Fatal Push doesn't really do anything, but Inquisition might. My opponent starts Sunbaked Canyon, Relic of Progenitus. We draw another Fatal Push, which is quite useless. Fetch up a basic Swamp. Give him the Inquisition. Opponent makes us exile our land out of grave. You got it. Lightning Bolt, Cleansing Wildfire, boom, boom, no second land. Wow. Take Cleansing Wildfire. I mean, like, I could have taken Lightning Bolt there, but Cleansing Wildfire potentially gets them more mana. They cycle Relic, they're looking for a land, they found a Plains, so my opponent will be able to boom next turn if they want to. Play Flagstones of Trocaire, pass the turn. I can't imagine my opponent will cast Boom without an indestructible land with their current mana situation. I don't think it would work out very well for them, because we have more lands in hand than they have lands. They play Needle Verge Pathway. They boom. Wow, okay. We draw Fetid Heath, so play Fetid Heath here. Pass the turn. My opponent plays Darksteel Citadel, so now their booms are amazing. We untap. We draw Sacred Foundry. Play Foundry tapped. Pass the turn. So my opponent is going to get down Nahiri before we do, which is a problem. They play a relic. We untap. We draw Smallpox. Awesome. Perfect timing. Whoops. Hang on. I can do this. Smallpox. Haha! So we sack Flagstones here. And we're going to discard a Fatal Push. Opponent makes us exile a land from our grave, that's fine. So discard a Fatal Push. Mana Denial versus Mana Denial. I imagine my opponent sacks Needle Verge Pathway, so they have access to red-white and an indestructible land in case they draw like another boom. Alright, that's exactly what they do. We're going to go ahead and get a Triome, because it would be a very bad land to top deck. Then we can play Nahiri, and if my opponent taps out, I kind of want to downtick and exile their Darksteel Citadel, because that takes them off of mana. And I think they cast this Lightning Bolt. They just pitched it to... Okay, cool. That's a backup plan. So if they have like another bolt for Nahiri, red, white, whatever, play Nahiri. Exile target tapped artifact. That's not something I get to do very often. Okay, opponent makes us exile a card from our grave. That's fine. Get rid of the swamp. Opponent untaps. Opponent does have another lightning bolt for Nahiri. That's alright. We got a Seasoned Pyromancer backup plan here. So play Seasoned Pyromancer. I don't really want to pitch Smiting Helix. But I'm going to. If I draw a land, I can keep priority. If I draw a land that is either red or white, I can keep priority and then Smiting Helix. We do get 2 tokens here. Alright, unfortunately we did not draw land, so we pass. My opponent is 2 mana away from Nahiri at the moment. They probably just crack Relic, because we have a spell we can play in the graveyard that might matter. Okay. That's what they do. Opponent Cleansing Wildfire, sure. Get a Plains. Opponent plays a Sacred Foundry, tapped. We untap. We draw Smiting Helix. So go to combat. Attack for 4. Hit them down to 10. Add red, red, white. Play Seasoned Pyromancer. Pitch Nether Spirit and Lingering Souls. Okay, play Urborg. And cast Lingering Souls. If my opponent has Wrath of God, that was wrong, but I don't think Cleansing Wildfire targeting them is correct here. So we do get Nether Spirit back, even... Well, I guess not if they Wrath, but we're representing lethal. We did it! That was awesome. You know what? I'm going to restart the client, and I will see you guys in round 4. Alrighty, welcome to round 4. So I was recording actually late last night, and I was going to just restart the client and then start playing again. However, it didn't quite work out. I had some other stuff I ended up having to do immediately, and then I went to bed. So I'm not fully caffeinated yet this morning, so if I punt more than usual, I apologize, especially when we were doing so good. This is not a keepable hand. We're going to mulligan. This is way better. I'm going to keep this. I think I put back 1 Seasoned Pyromancer here. Alright. We need to fetch up a red land with Bloodstained Mire. Okay, opponent is on Spirits. We draw Nahiri. Play Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn. We're going to use Bloodstained Mire to get the Triome, I think. The good news is, versus a non-Aether Vial hand, Smallpox is pretty good versus Spirits. Okay, opponent attacks us for 1. We take 1, go to 19. And on our opponent's end step, just get a Savai Triome, untap. We draw Smallpox, but we're not going to play Smallpox this turn. We're going to wait. As long as my opponent doesn't have a Drog Skull Captain on 3. They can have a flash creature here, but as long as they don't have another flash creature or a Drog Skull Captain, we can cast Smallpox next turn for like maximum value. Okay, opponent plays a Seachrome Coast. They attack us for 3. We can do one of two things here. We can either play Seasoned Pyromancer or we can play Smallpox, and I kind of just want to play Smallpox. Seasoned Pyromancer is technically stronger. Okay, opponent has a Spell Queller. Sure. That does actually kind of suck. So we might be able to play Nahiri and downtick to exile Spell Queller, depending on what our opponent does here. Opponent hits us for 5, we go to 10. They play a land. We untap. We draw Bloodstained Mire. Yeah, because I think I'd want to play Seasoned Pyromancer and like Lingering Souls or Smiting Helix in the same turn, so I'm going to try this. If they have another Spell Queller, we just lose. Okay, Nahiri resolves. Exile Spell Queller. Okay, we cast a Smallpox. Opponent lets this go off, despite the fact that they could just counter it with Mausoleum Wanderer. They sack Mausoleum Wanderer. Interesting. We sack Flagstones. We will use its ability and get a... we'll get a Sacred Foundry. Alright, pass the turn. So next turn my opponent is probably going to attack and kill Nahiri. I have a Skyclave Apparition, so they just exile Nahiri. Okay. Well, Smiting Helix killing Skyclave Apparition would be pretty good, giving us a 4/4. Okay, opponent hits us for 4. We untap and draw Flagstones. I guess I'll play around Mana Leak. Smiting Helix. Glad I got the Sacred Foundry, because now I can still cast Seasoned Pyromancer. Drog Skull Captain. Yeah, that kills us, actually. I guess I can make blockers. It doesn't quite kill us. It's very close, though. Cast Lingering Souls. Pass the turn. I think I need to draw Smiting Helix to win. And I can't use Seasoned Pyromancer to get it either. So chump there and chump there so we stay alive. We untap. We draw Emrakul, which is unfortunately not a card. Oh, you know what? If I flash back Lingering Souls, and then I play Seasoned Pyromancer, this can maybe keep us alive. Discard Emrakul, we get a token. Then we get a Cling to Dust and a Cleansing Wildfire. Alright, shuffle everything back in. We can Cling to Dust Mausoleum Wanderer, but I don't want to do it at a time that my opponent could flash something in. Okay. Crack Bloodstained Mire, get a basic Swamp. Cling to Dust Mausoleum Wanderer, go up to 5 life. So they're going to hit Seasoned Pyromancer. It's the only legal target for Skyclave. They untap. We have to chump 3 creatures. That sucks. Alright, we untap. We draw Fatal Push. So, Cleansing Wildfire ourself. We will use its ability. Get a Mountain. Get a Godless Shrine. Not paying any life. Fatal Push Drog Skull Captain. Then we make 1 blocker and we die. That's unfortunate. It was very close though. It was just slightly too slow. Opponent had slightly too much disruption. I don't think we want Nihil Spellbomb. I probably actually want Wear and Tear. Shenanigans is going to be too slow. Boil, they play some islands, but they're not maxed out on islands because they play the fast lands. Same reason we're not going to play Suppression Field. Big Game Hunter doesn't actually hit a lot in their deck. So I'm going to bring in Wear and Tear, and I'm going to drop a Nether Spirit. We're going to try it like this. The good news is on the play, our angle of attack is much stronger than it is when we're on the draw. Alright, we'll play first. Smallpox, Fatal Push, Inquisition. It's a very awkward hand, but we're going to keep it, even though we can't turn 1 Inquisition. So what I'm expecting here is we're going to play turn 1 Mountain, turn 2 Graven Cairns. If my opponent played like a Mausoleum Wanderer, we'll Fatal Push and Inquisition, otherwise we just Inquisition, and then turn 3 we Smallpox. Pass the turn. Okay, they did not play any 1-drop, so luckily we drew second hand Hate Spell. Inquisition. Opponent has Selfless Spirit, Rattle Chains. Take Rattle Chains. Take Selfless Spirit. So my opponent is holding these 3 cards. Pass the turn, and now Smallpox is going to be amazing. My opponent just F6 through their turn. We draw Cling to Dust. Smallpox. We'll discard Flagstones. Opponent discards a Rattle Chains. That could have been very good if they actually had played a land, but they punted pretty hard by not playing a land there. Because if they had played a land, they could have floated mana, let Smallpox resolve, and then flashed in Rattle Chains. Okay, opponent plays Horizon Canopy. We untap. We draw Bloodstained Mire. Play Bloodstained Mire. We're going to exile the land out of our opponent's deck, or out of their grave. We're going to draw a card. It's a Seasoned Pyromancer. Now, Fatal Push answers Selfless Spirit, but I think I would rather just dump it and get some more cards. I don't think a random 2/1 is going to do enough here, especially because we're going to be drawing a lot more powerful stuff. And we're going to be able to win the race, especially with something like Cling to Dust in the grave. So opponent plays Moorland Haunt into a Selfless Spirit. If I drew another Smallpox here, it'd be even more amazing. Smiting Helix. I could just make that work. Play Bloodstained Mire. They'll just sack in response, so we don't gain the life. Or they F6, and we gain the life for free. Attack for 3. I'm going to leave Bloodstained Mire uncracked for a bit, just in case we do happen to draw like Fatal Push and we need to hit something like Spell Queller. 3 mana. Skyclave Apparition. Okay. We take out the Pyro. We untap. We draw Flagstones. Play Flagstones. Go ahead and Smiting Helix. Get an Illusion. Go to combat. Attack for 1. Hit our opponent down to 13, then we cast Lingering Souls. Get some tokens. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Sacks Horizon Canopy. Plays Seachrome Coast. Plays Supreme Phantom. We untap. We draw a Seasoned Pyromancer. Man, just top decking this guy when you have no other cards in hand, just, delicious. Just Divination with a 2/2 body attached. Why is that so freaking awesome? Okay, we're going to fetch up our other basic mountain. Play Godless Shrine tapped. Cast Seasoned Pyromancer. So good. We get a Smallpox and a Nahiri. Yeah, this game's over. Swing, I don't even care if they block a token. Opponent goes to 8. Plays a Cavern of Souls. We untap. We draw a Cleansing Wildfire. Go to combat. Swing with the team. Opponent makes a 1/1 Spirit to block. Well, it's going to be a 2/2 because of Supreme Phantom. Opponent takes 6, goes to 2. Cleansing Wildfire. Kill the Moorland Haunt, so there's no more of that shenanigans. Then we'll play Nahiri. And I'm going to loot away this other Cleansing Wildfire. Okay, we draw Cleansing Wildfire. Pass the turn. I could have also just cast the back half of Lingering Souls. but I think we've got it. Okay, opponent Skyclave Apparitions to kill Nahiri. They play a land. They have no cards left in their hand. No attacks. So we have the Smallpox lethal again. Go to combat. Attack with everybody. Block, block, block. Opponent takes 1. Ah, yes, and then we get to kill them with the best burn spell ever printed. Discard Wildfire. Sack a token. Nice. Oh, that's great. I love doing that. Yep, just run it back. This is a really strong, like, Smallpox decks, it feels like. It's very good for the current metagame, I would say. Yeah, we'll keep this. We're gonna ramp to 4, I think. I'm gonna put back Cling to Dust. I'm gonna keep Cleansing Wildfire, because that's kind of critical to the plan at the moment. Opponent starts Mausoleum Wanderer. The only way this hand gets better is a Fatal Push. Dang. That'd have been sweet. Play Blood Crypt tapped, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Cavern of Souls, Aiming Spirit. Then they play a Selfless Spirit, pumping Mausoleum Wanderer. They attack us for 2. We untap. We draw a Godless Shrine. So play Flagstones. Cleansing Wildfire ourself. Okay, opponent lets that resolve. So we tutor up a Mountain. And then Flagstones gets us Savai Triome. We draw Smiting Helix, pass the turn. Well, now we have Nahiris we can start using as removal spells. Opponent plays a Cavern. Into a second Wanderer. And then a Supreme Phantom. They attack us for 7. We get down to 11. We untap. We draw Bloodstain Mire. Play the Mire. Fetch up a Swamp. Play Nahiri. Exile Selfless Spirit. Okay, opponent sacks. That's fine. So next turn, I think we just have to try and play Seasoned Pyromancer, discarding Smiting Helix, and try and smite something, even though my opponent will just counter it with a Mausoleum Wanderer. Wow, the All-Lord hand. We're just dead. I mean, that's one of the craziest spirit hands I've ever seen. And it just involved drawing 3 of their 1 Lord. And I don't think my opponent had a single unspent mana that game. That's pretty good. We definitely needed a hand with like Fatal Push and Smallpox early to beat that, and we just didn't have it, so maybe I should have mulliganed, but alright, I'll see you guys in round 5. Alrighty, round 5, here we go. I would love to play first. I mean, it's a turn 3 Nahiri, but we're not doing anything else. Yeah, you know what, we'll keep it. Let's try it. I mean, like, there's always the chance that, oh, you know what? It's not a turn 3 Nahiri because we can't cast Cleansing Wildfire on turn 2. I should not have kept this hand at all. Alright, start Godless Shrine. Pass the turn. Well, maybe our opponent's on Tron. We just get him with the next level main deck Cleansing Wildfire. Radiant Fountain. Okay, they are not on Tron. We draw another Cleansing Wildfire. Play Graven Cairns. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Simic Growth Chamber. That I will Wildfire, since we're going to be playing a Nahiri on curve anyway. Opponent has to discard to hand size. The only thing I would cast above a Cleansing Wildfire is a Smallpox, and only because it's way meaner. They drop and explore. We draw Blood Crypt. So play Flagstones. And red. Cleansing Wildfire Growth Chamber. When you destroy a bounce land with Cleansing Wildfire, it actually is the equivalent of destroying a land. I guess I should have done that first, because I could have Thoughtsseized there, but... if this is traditional Amulet Titan, which is what it looks like it is right now, my opponent's probably not actually playing that many basics. Okay, they play a Radiant Fountain. We untap. We draw another Flagstones. So, Thoughtseize is safer, but we have one more turn, I think. Nahiri is also good versus the Dryad, which would be like the scariest thing they can play next turn. So we're just going to play Nahiri. Uptick. We will loot flagstones away. Get a Sacred Foundry. Pass the turn. And if they play another bounce land, we can Cleansing Wildfire that too. Okay, they have an Amulet. Which unfortunately Nahiri can't exile any artifacts, she has to exile tapped artifacts. Okay, opponent plays Selesnya Sanctuary. They float mana and they play Dryad. And then they replay a land. We untap. We draw Seasoned Pyromancer. Exile Dryad. We're going to take a lot of damage here, I think. Well, I guess we don't have to. So filter into black-red. Thoughtseize our opponent. Karn, Great Creator, or Summoner's Pact. My opponent can play Titan next turn if they pact, even though Karn is going to be harder for us to deal with. I think we got to take the Summoner's Pact from them. The question is, do we still try and cast this Cleansing Wildfire, or do we just play Seasoned Pyro? And I think the answer to that question is we play Seasoned Pyro. We are going to get rid of an Nahiri here, and our Cleansing Wildfire. We kind of want to go wide so we can attack Karn. Okay, we get an Emrakul and another Seasoned Pyro. So pass the turn. So our opponent is holding Radiant Fountain, Karn, one unknown. Okay, our opponent plays Radiant Fountain. They play Karn. Let's see what they wish for. Engineered Explosives. My opponent cracks Windswept Teeth. Presumably is playing explosives on 0. So they can kill the tokens so Karn doesn't take any damage. Okay. We untap. We draw flagstones. So go to combat. Swing everything at Karn. Opponent chumps the 2/2, cracks explosives. Sure. Okay. Play flagstones, because we're going to thin our deck. Get Savai Triome. We don't have any, what do you call it? We don't have any planes left in our deck, it looks like. So play Seasoned Pyro, dump our hand. We draw 2, and then we shuffle everything back in. Uptick Nahiri. Ditch Nether Spirit. We draw an Urborg. Pass the turn. So my opponent might have to get a Pithing Needle on Nahiri or a Liquimetal Coating and then activate to try and stop her from activating. Ensnaring Bridge. Okay. My opponent is still holding 2 cards in hand. So Ensnaring Bridge does stop Emrakul from killing our opponent. We get back a Nether Spirit. We draw Bloodstained Mire. Uptick Nahiri. Discard Bloodstained Mire. We get a Smiting Helix. So smite the Grazer. Go to combat. Hit Karn for 1 to kill him. Okay, opponent untaps. I don't think we actually have anything in the deck we could get with Nahiri that's going to help here. We could alter to get a Seasoned Pyromancer. Okay, Primeval Titan for our opponent. It's kind of lame because they can hover at 2 cards in hand. And we don't have a way to get that Ensnaring Bridge tapped, so we can't Nahiri it. I suppose I could empty my opponent's hand and then they can't attack either. They get a Growth Chamber and a Field. They untap, they float mana, and they pick up Talaria West. Play Vesuva on Field of the Dead. make more zombies, and they're going to transmute for Summoner's Pact or a land here. It's a Summoner's Pact. Alright, we untap. We draw Emrakul. Nothing I kind of... There's really nothing I want to Smiting Helix, so uptick Nahiri to 10. Loot away Emrakul. We get nothing. Play a Swamp. Pass the turn. No attacks, because it wouldn't make sense to attack. So my opponent could pact for a Dryad here if they wanted to, or they could pact for another Titan. They swing everything at Nahiri. We're going to block all of this. We have another Nahiri, but... Okay, opponent Summoner's Pact. They should be going for another Titan here just to make more attackers. Yep. We don't have a way to take them off of double green on their upkeep to have them die to their own pact, unfortunately. I mean, unless we, like, chain Cleansing Wildfires or something, which would be pretty awesome, but I just don't think it's that likely. I could put Emrakul on the battlefield, but we can't attack with it because of Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, yep. Opponent gets a bunch of Field of the Dead tokens. Boros Garrison lets them pick up a land. They pick up Boros Garrison. They make more tokens. They untap it, pick it up. We make a pretty measly number of tokens here. And then we untap. We draw Smallpox, which is about 1,000,000 years too late. So we are going to ult Nahiri. Yep, we're going to get a Seasoned Pyromancer. Just to see if we can draw anything. Ditch Urborg and Smallpox. But I don't like, it's not like we have any board wipes, so. Alright, we'll concede. So versus the Amulet Titan deck, I think we want Damping Sphere, Wear and Tear, because my opponent is playing the Karn Wishboard. And we could want Big Game Hunter here, actually. Let's bring in Big Game Hunter. Big Game Hunter hasn't had his time in the limelight yet. I think I'll drop Cling to Dust. Nether Spirit seems actually really bad. I don't want to drop the Emrakul package at all, because that's basically how we should be winning. Smiting Helix is not as good. I'm actually going to cut both Nether Spirits. I don't think we're going to be grinding our opponent out. Alright, I would love to play first. We have Damping Sphere into Liliana. I mean, I guess that's might be enough. So we'll keep. If we draw Smallpox, we can do a lot with that. We are going to start Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn. This doesn't allow for a turn 2 Smallpox, but I kind of want to just get Triome out of my deck so I don't draw tap land. Okay, my opponent starts Basic Forest. So Bloodstained Mire, let's go get Triome. Untapped. We draw Nahiri, the Harbinger. Play Flagstones. Play Damping Sphere. Pass the turn. See, our only out to that Ensnaring Bridge game 1 was Liliana ult, and it was like Ensnaring Bridge versus all of their permanents, and that probably would have killed us anyway. Okay, opponent Vesuvas our Flagstones. We untap and draw Nahiri. So, play Fetid Heath. Play Lily. Oh, did I tap wrong? I did tap wrong. Because I played the wrong land. This can't produce black while I have Damping Sphere on the field. I've done that so many times this league. And by so many times I mean twice. This deck does have a few non-bows in it, which I think I would pull Suppression Field out of this deck entirely, but it's in there. It's in here basically because of Heliod Company. I'm pretty sure because it stops them from doing infinite combos with creature activated abilities. Okay, opponent plays Amulet. They untap Simic Growth Chamber. It taps for a colorless. They play an Explore, and then they play a Forest. That Simic Growth Chamber right now is a Wastes, which is pretty great. Second Damping Sphere. So play Bloodstained Mire, crack Bloodstained Mire, get a Swamp. I mean, I guess I should probably get a Blood Crypt, actually. Yeah, let's get a Blood Crypt. And we can either play Nahiri or we can play Lily. I actually think Nahiri is probably better. Just trying to go for like a fast Emrakul here with my opponent under a Damping Sphere. I don't think there's a ton they can do about it. Then we can play Liliana after they play a creature and make them sack it. If they just play like a Dryad or something like that. They don't seem to have one right now. And they shouldn't have anything with haste. Actually, they could play it. Potentially, if they could play a Titan, they could have haste. Although with Boros, Garrison... They used to play Slayer Stronghold, which wouldn't matter. But if they have Hanweir Battlements and they just get a basic Mountain or Valakut or something, then that would work. So we're going to play Nahiri. We're going to loot away our other Nahiri. Can we get an Inquisition? If we top deck a land, we can Inquisition into Liliana, I think. No, it has to be a black land. Although we do have 2 draws at it, and otherwise we could just play Inquisition into second Damping Sphere. Okay, opponent plays Grazer, putting in another tapped Wastes that makes them bounce a land. They pick up a Forest and replay it. They play Karn, they wish for Ensnaring Bridge. Alright, well, we untap. We draw Emrakul. So... Inquisition. Take Ensnaring Bridge. Flashback Lingering Souls. Uptick Nahiri. Discarding Emrakul. Cleansing Wildfire. Go to combat. We are going to attack Karn for 2 here. We don't want them wishing again. And then next turn we just Emrakul them and kill them? Like, my opponent can play a Dryad, but what does that do? Karn was at 3, right? Didn't we just hit Karn for 2? How did Karn wish? Am I missing something? How did that work? Oh, I know I'm missing something. I have to be. He starts at 5, they wish they get Ensnaring Bridge, we hit it for 2, it goes to 1. How did he wish? Can we get another Nahiri? So... I have no idea how that worked. Uptick Nahiri to 9. Loot away Nahiri. We get Smallpox. Play Lily. Alright. Still not sure how my opponent wished there, because they didn't have a turn to uptick. It wasn't at 4. We hit him for 2, he was at 1, right? Unless I accidentally attacked my opponent, in which case he would still be at 3. But then why did he die? That doesn't... I don't know. Chat, yell at me if I'm just having tired brain moment, but otherwise, let me know what happened there, because I don't feel like that should have happened. I think this is a problem exists between keyboard and user situation. Yeah, no adjustments. I'm going to restart the client, though, for this last game, because it's lagging so bad. Alright, well, I think this is a mulligan. Inquisition's nice, but it's not going to be enough disruption, and we have way better disruptive hands. This probably works a little bit better as long as they don't have, like, absolutely crazy hand. Put back a Fetid Heath. Opponent starts Cavern, naming Beast for Grazer. And they put in a Selesnya Sanctuary. Okay. I draw a Fatal Push, which is probably not going to be super useful, but if my opponent plays a Dryad, we can push the Dryad. They start with an Explore. They play Sunhome and Cavern. Naming Dryad. Alright. We don't have another fetch land, so I'm actually going to fetch a basic swamp and I'm going to push this Grazer, and my logic behind that is if I draw Smallpox, I'm going to need Smallpox to answer that Dryad. We untap, we draw Flagstones, play Graven Cairns, Cleansing Wildfire, the Selesnya Sanctuary. Opponent will get a Forest, we draw Sacred Foundry. It would help if we drew some more non-land cards. I don't know, deck, if you could manage that, that'd be great. Kind of hoping my opponent is out of lands in hand, too. But that means they'd have a lot of action, potentially. Okay, opponent plays Talaria West, they play the Dryad. They play Azusa, or Azusa. Smallpox, please. Dang. Play Sacred Foundry tapped. Pass the turn. Ancient Stirrings. Opponent gets a Simic Growth Chamber. So I can play 3 extra lands this turn. 4 mana for Karn. Okay, that makes sense. They uptick Karn this turn. Okay, we untap. We draw Inquisition. So we know they're holding a Dryad. Is that enough for us to Inquisition them? Or should we just play Nahiri and uptick? I think playing Nahiri and upticking is correct. Okay, we get a Lily. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. I guess if they just have Primeval Titan, then nothing we did mattered. Alright, Summoner's Pact. Prime time. Opponent plays Primeval Titan. And now they're starting to make tokens, which I don't think we can beat. Because it's not like we have our own Ensnaring Bridge or anything. We also don't really have removal that hits prime time. We have Edicts, but that's it. I guess if it's already attacked, we've lost at that point, but we could potentially, like, Nahiri down tick on it. Opponent makes a ton of tokens. Then they wish for an Amulet of Vigor. Okay, they get a Forest, they make another token, then they play Amulet. We untap. Draw Cleansing Wildfire. So start by looting. We have no legal downtick targets. Loot away Fetid Heath. We get a Fatal Push. Just slightly too late, because... I mean, you could argue that pushing that Arboreal Grazer was wrong. And maybe I should have saved it for Azusa, but... I had kind of anticipated not drawing lands for at least 2 of these turns, because we had so many in hand, but... Yep, it looks like it's going to be game. My opponent has lethal on board that we can't really interact with. So, scoop it up. We get a treasure chest, so let's open our treasure chest. 10 play points, Nervinal Avatar, and a Scythe of the Wretched. Alright. So, I really like this deck. I love Smallpox decks. And I have to say that as far as, like, things to take advantage of self-discard, Smiting Helix is pretty good. Just having a sorcery speed Lightning Helix that you could cast from your grave is really good in a deck like this, because generally if you're playing non-green versions of Smallpox, you run into an issue where you're spending too much life. And then, I mean, you can play things like Timely Reinforcements and some of the white life gain, but it doesn't generally help all that much. But, like, here, Smiting Helix is great. Nether Spirit is a slight non-bow with Seasoned Pyromancer, but, like, Seasoned Pyromancer, also great from the grave. Draws you cards when you're out of cards, which is great in a deck like this. Cleansing Wildfire, we saw both good offensive and defensive uses of it, where, like, we can take out something from our opponent's mana base that's a problem, or we can blow up our own flagstones and get ahead, like to ramp into an Nahiri quicker, which I think is great. I really like the versatility of that in a deck like this. Cling to Dust, Fatal Push, Inquisition, Thoughtseize, just standard 1-mana interaction package. The sideboard for this deck, I have some qualms with. Suppression Field, good card. Not in a deck that's playing fetch lands and planeswalkers. I never wanted to bring that card in. And yeah, I mean, if I'd played against Heliod Company, I probably would have brought it in. But in reality, I think that should really just be Pithing Needle. I know that I know the original builder of this deck was also probably trying to tax like fetch lands if my opponent was a super fetch heavy deck or something like that, but I really just think those suppression fields ought to be Pithing Needle. It's cheaper, it's slightly more targeted, it's just as good, or if not better, against things like Heliod Company that you can specifically disable, different individual permanents with activated abilities. Big Game Hunter, I actually like. I didn't really get the chance to use it, but Big Game Hunter, just casting it off of a smallpoxing and ending with a creature that you didn't start with seems like a fun idea. It is a 1/1, and it's kind of just like a murderous compulsion in this situation, but I think it's still, like, I'll still play it if I play this deck again. Shenanigans I like, but it is a little bit slow. I liked Nile Spellbomb. As far as Grave Hate goes, having Grave Hate that also turns on Fatal Push, that cantrips and can draw you a card, and only exiles your opponent's grave is kind of important in a deck like this, so I'm glad to see it's Nile Spellbomb and not like Relic. Tormod's Crypt would work, though because you're playing black, Nile Spellbomb is basically the same in terms of how much mana you're going to end up spending, because if you have Tormod's Crypt, odds are the rest of your hand, you're probably not playing a spell on that turn anyway. The only other one that you could run in a deck like this would be Leyline of the Void, which would be fine, because excess copies would be another thing you could pitch to like a Smallpox. But the problem is, even though we were only running 23 lands, so frequently were we just bricking and drawing lands that it was kind of annoying. Seasoned Pyromancer, I really think like this deck would not work without Seasoned Pyromancer, so if you wanted to build a deck like this, I don't think you could play it without having that card, and that's probably, other than the mana base, the most expensive card in the deck by far. It's so powerful. Like, frequently we made a bunch of tokens, we discarded a bunch of cards that we didn't need, we drew new cards, we just reloaded with it frequently, so I really think you can't play this deck without Seasoned Pyromancer. All in all, I think the deck's great. I really like it. I probably could have done better with it, but yeah. Oh yeah, and Uro Omnath Storm is apparently a thing. I forgot until now. Ugh, I hate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few have been earlier. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I want you to know that you're all wonderful human beings, and I really appreciate your support. So I will see you in the next one. Bye!